Welcome back to QTV. Now we have some very interesting guests joining us on the couch this evening. We have Scott Black and Stephen J. Whiteley. Now Scott is the General Manager for 31 Digital and Steve is the Executive Producer for QTV. Now you may also recognise Scott from his program The Late Night Show, which airs on 31 Digital as well. Thank you very much for joining us on the couch this evening, gentlemen.
Cheers for having us. Thanks.
Now, we have you here not just for the great television programs which you produce, but for your affiliation and for your support with the GLBTIQ community. And we're very happy to call you our straight allies. Yeah. And that's what we're here to talk to you about.
It's the nicest thing anyone's ever called me.
I can vouch for that.
So what does it mean to you being an ally of the LGBTIQ community?
I didn't realise that I was. I just always thought that I was not an asshole. I never. It wasn't until I started making this show that I realised that we need allies, and to me, allies are people that are not just anti-homophobe, but we're actually actively out there. You know, I didn't think we needed to promote the cause. I was an idiot. I thought we lived in a time, in a world where people could do what they want and be accepted for who they are, and it wasn't until I started doing this that I realised that that's not the case.
And you actually suffered a bit of heterophobia, didn't you, at the beginning of all of this?
I did, a straitophobia, and to be honest, it was actually the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because it made me realise what it's like to be judged for something that you have absolutely no control over. And, you know, because I'm used to being judged in my life, you know, people look at me and they judge me because of my tattoos, my big earlobes, my face piercings. But the difference is I chose to do that, you know, so I'm kind of okay with that, because every time I get a tattoo, every time I do something, I'm like, people are going to look at me differently. I don't care. To be judged for something that you have absolutely no control over, that you can't help, that you can't deny, I'd never experienced that before. And so to those people who put me in that position, thank you, because it made me appreciate what members of the community go through every day, and it's horrific, and anything I can do to stop that, then I will.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Now I wanted to ask you, Scott, I know that I became aware of you from your TV show and all the support you were giving same-sex marriage, and I think you copped a lot of flack for that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, and it's not something I ever shy away from. Like, I've been a supporter of the community for years, going back to when I first kind of saw my first prejudice back in Vermont in the US, and I actually became part of the Gay Straight Alliance, which is an organization we have over there, and actually used to go to things, you know, fundraisers and stuff like that, and speak out on behalf of, I guess, being the token straight guy there. And then when you get something as powerful as a TV show, and you have lots of followers and people watching, and you constantly see this unjust just keep happening over and over in the press, and you know, and schmucks like Abbott and Gillard talking about how it's wrong, or no, they don't believe in this, or it's not right, or their definition of marriage, and I just had to be that one that just jumps up and says, bull crap. And that's the cleanest I've ever been.
That's true.
And I mean, I've dedicated entire monologues of my show to just saying how stupid it is that this isn't already happened. Like, you know, what decade are we in that this isn't happening? And yeah, a lot of political flack. Even when I wasn't general manager of the station, I used to cop a lot from the higher ups. Who fortunately aren't here anymore, to try to tone it down.
The gay mafia.
And well, even because it's like Steve, I've copped it from both sides.
Yeah.
And I don't care, because I'm going to say what I want, and I'm going to say what I believe, and I believe wholeheartedly that this needs to happen. You know, same-sex rights, just rights. That's all. Everyone deserves the fair go. So
That's fantastic, and I love that you're both so passionate about it. And I suppose when you see that people are passionate about something, there's usually somewhere close to home for them. It's something that means something to them personally. So do either of you have a story, I suppose, about, is it a close relative or friend that you have that's gay that made this turning point for you, or is it just common sense?
Yeah, well, for me, it is kind of personal. Like, my parents divorced when I was just a baby, and my mom had trust issues with men after that, and so she had a lot of gay men friends that would hang around. So I was raised in it, and nothing was ever hidden, like, "Ooh, don't show that to Scott," or "Don't talk about your boyfriend," or anything. Like, none of that was ever hidden. So I just grew up with that just being normal part of life. Like, and so when I first found my first, oh, it's wrong to be gay, I'm like, why? Why is that wrong? And I have, which we all have that uncle, and I really did have that uncle who was in the closet. He didn't come out until he was almost 70, and when he did, he was like, this is a big deal, and we're like, we already knew. We don't care. We love you anyway. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, so that's. I mean, I guess I feel a bit of a relationship with the cause because I've seen it where if a child is raised without any of that the bigotry and the hate put into them, it's just normal. It's what's right. You know, it's just love between people. Who doesn't matter what sex they are, you know?
That's fantastic. And what about for you, Steve? Is there someone personal in your life or a personal story, or it just makes sense?
It just, I lived a very interesting life, and I was basically raised, well, not raised, but as an adult, I hung around with a lot of homophobes and a lot of guys who made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And to me, it's never made sense. Homophobia just doesn't make sense at all. I don't believe that somebody's sexuality affects anybody else at all, and so I always it always amazed me that people made such a big deal about it. That people were so worried about what other people were doing, you know. And to me, we're not fighting for. I actually hate all the acronyms. I've got to be honest. I've been against the acronyms, the LGBTIQYMCA, all that sort of stuff. To me, we're not fighting for gay rights. We're just fighting for human rights. You know, that's what it's all about. And I think we're going to make it. I believe as a world we do develop. You know, like if you look at it this way, in the 50s and 60s, you know, like at the moment we've got people running around talking about same-sex marriage, and they're going, "Oh, I've got no problem with gay people. I just don't think they should be allowed to get married." You know. And that's just wrong. But then I look back and I think during the 50s and 60s we had people running around going, I have no problem with black people. I just think they should sit at the back of the bus, you know. And then during the 60s we had people saying, I have no problem with women. I just don't think they should be allowed to vote. And the simple fact is that as people, we've managed to move on to the point that a black man now runs the United States of America and a woman now runs Australia. So I certainly think it's only going to be a matter of time before we see this for the discriminatory backwards bullshit that it really is, and just get on with ourselves as human beings.
Well, Steve, I think it's great. I appreciate so much that you've given us the ability to do this show. Do you mind if we do quick six with you and with you, Scott, tonight, like we usually do?
Sure.
That would be absolutely fantastic. So
I'm actually a bit worried. Can I say no?
Yeah. I did have some special questions, but I thought we'll just go a little bit gentler for you tonight, boys. So we'll kick off straight away. So my first one is, what's the one movie that you are ashamed to admit that you enjoy?
Oh, jeez.
Quick six.
Frequency.
Frequency?
Yeah.
Stephen?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm proud of all the movies that I like, and I will defend them to the death.
He watches Bambi, I'm sure. Now, who is the greater talent, 90s boy bands or current reality star musicians?
Oh, shit. 90s boy bands.
90s boy bands?
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah,
Lesser of
sure.
two evils.
Well, I've got an easier one for you. I want one word that
Right.
sounds dirty but isn't.
Kumquat.
Damp.
What was yours?
Damp. I'm straight. You know, like.
Okay, and Matt, have you got one?
Yeah, I've got
Go
two.
on. Hit 'em with one.
What song best describes you?
Who Wants to Live Forever?
Welcome to the jungle.
And if you could drink with anyone from time, fictional or non-fictional, who would you be having a beer with?
I would have to say David Beckham.
Yeah, it's going to sound like I'm pandering, but I'm not. This is legit. Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, well, mine's questionable. So.
And our final question, do you prefer the book or the movie?
Book.
Book. Yeah, definitely.
Unanimous.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We barely had to ask you any questions tonight. You just gave us all the answers. It's been really
Perfect.
interesting and listening to you. So thank you very much for sharing your stories. And I know you two are going to sit on the couch with us for segment 3, I'm sure.
Sure.
So we will be back very, very shortly. In the meantime, don't forget you can tweet all of us sitting on the couch. And we are actually live tweeting as these episodes are going to air, so you can shoot us your questions right now to get a response. Now, we'll be back after this very short break with more QTV.